1990 Firestone Master Driver Series got underway recently, and tonight we introduce the 8 drivers competing in the first round at Kyalami. Kingsley Wood explains the format.
The format consists of 3 disciplines: a rally stage, which we're at right now, a driving test, and a race. The object of the exercise is to establish amongst 3 disciplines who is South Africa's best driver. Naturally, there are 32 top drivers chosen, and there will be a winner eventually out of the series after the 5 rounds have been run.
All the cars used in the Firestone Master Driver Series are supplied by Toyota. Francois Loepscher, Toyota Marketing, Planning and Communications Director, describes the models to be used in the rally, autotest and race categories.
The GLI twin cam 16s are being used for the rally sections and the racing sections, and the 16 Sport will be used for the Gymkhana or the driving tests. The cars are absolutely standard. We have taken them off the production line. We've naturally looked at the preparation very carefully, because the idea is to equate the power output and get the tuning exactly on a similar basis. The idea also being that the drivers will make the difference. So we're taking a lot of time and care to set out the cars and make sure the tuning is absolutely comparable.
Tyres play an important part in the Firestone Master Driver Series, and a lot of care is taken in their selection to ensure that all competitors have an equal chance. Firestone's Marketing Services Manager, Richard Knipe, has the details.
Well, the specific tyres that we use is the Firestone F560. It's a standard road-going tyre. One thing in particular which I think is interesting about the tyre, it's a T-speed rated, which is the first of its kind to be produced in South Africa. One thing that we did is to take particular care that the tyres are absolutely equal for the drivers, because things have to be equal. So in our Brits factory, we made sure that all the tyres came from the same batch. They were checked by our technical personnel. The tyres that went onto the cars were specifically checked before each round in terms of exact equal pressures and so forth.
Enzo Kuun drives for the Toyota dealer team and is one of the young lions in South African rally. The 21-year-old Pretoria student is tipped for future stardom.
I'm not going out there to try and beat anybody. It requires a great deal of concentration. It's a game of the mind as well as tactics. And I think I'll be out there to try and beat myself. My strategy will be to stay calm, concentrate, and play the game by the rules.
Former South African Drivers' Champion Tony Meyrton has raced everything from karts to sports cars. His finest hour was a win in the 1984 Daytona 24-hour race in America.
I think the hardest is the driving test. A certain amount of luck is involved there. And under pressure, people make mistakes in that test. And I think that's the key to winning or losing this event. I'm just going to feel my way in on the warm-up now, go my hardest in the rally section, take it easy in the driving test, and give it a full go in the race.
One of the most spectacular rally drivers in the country, Jannie Habig, has a legion of followers. The Natal-based Nissan driver is competing in his 3rd Master Driver Series.
Your approach is obviously different on between the track racing, the rally stage and the auto test. One's got to be very neat, make no mistakes, and try and be as quick as possible. As long as you're neat and very clean, then everybody's got an equal opportunity and a chance. The big issue really is that the cars should all be equal.
Peter Lanz is a 7-times winner of the Westbank Modified Saloon Car Championship in Class C, a former South African National Saloon Car Champion and one of the frontrunners in the Stanek Group N Series.
I think the rally driver has got a slight advantage, and that is in 2 ways. Because in the rally, I would say we must probably slightly scared for hitting something or rolling a car where they're used to it. And another thing is the cars we drive on full thread tires. You have to drive it more in a rally style. That's the advantage.
Volkswagen's Johan Evertse is an acknowledged front-wheel drive rally expert. In recent years, he has also gained plenty of track experience racing in a Porsche Turbo Cup series.
I've obviously built my name on being a front-wheel drive driver, and it certainly helps. But you have to have a strategy for the master drivers. And the strategy is actually to take it calm and collective throughout the event and not to have peaks and valleys.
Opel star Mike Briggs is another of the versatile young lions in South African motorsport. Briggs is equally at home in saloon cars, single-seaters or sports cars and hopes to compete overseas.
In the past, the rally drivers have done very well in Master Drivers. I think that kind of event suits them. But I think this year, the racing drivers that I've been speaking to, there's a point to prove. There's pride at stake, and a lot of the guys have been out practicing. I think this year, it's got to be a racing driver. The rally drivers are over the hill. Serge Damsu is too old. Goodbye.
A legend in South African motorsport, versatile Johan Hettema is a 5-time South African rally champion. Jan also won Springbok colours for cycling and is a former world record holder.
I think that you have to do fairly well in all 3 events. You don't necessarily have to win, but if you come sort of 2nd or 3rd in say all 3 events, you will definitely go through. Sometimes if you win, which I did in the last 2 years in both the rally stages, I won overall, and I still didn't make it into the final. I was 3rd every time. So I think the secret is, to a certain extent, consistency.
Springbok Chris Aberdein is a versatile driver who's had a meteoric rise to fame. A member of the Volkswagen Audi team, Chris won the Porsche Turbo World Cup last year.
I think the autotest is probably the most difficult for me, both the autotest and the rally, because as you know, I'm not a rally driver, I'm a race driver, and you know, one doesn't do that every day, so it's something new. It's basically once a year one gives it a bash. I think I'm going to be a little cautious, but at the same time give it a full go, but you know, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be an interesting round.
Highlights from the first round of the Firestone Master Driver Series at Kyalami will be broadcast on Top Sport tomorrow night. You don't want to miss the action.
The opening round of the Firestone Master Driver Series produced plenty of pre-event activity at the Kyalami International Race Circuit in Midrand. With 32 of South Africa's top motorsport stars fighting for 8 places in the final, action was on the cards. Ahead of the first 8 contestants lay a rally special stage, an auto test and a 6-lap race, with the 2 top scorers winning places in the final. Jannie Habig, Peter Lanz, Enzo Kuun, Chris Aberdein, Johan Evertse, Johan Hettema, Mike Briggs and Tony Meyrton provided a blend of youth and experience. In a unique test of all-round driving skills, race drivers were up against rally drivers. The first official task for the drivers was the draw for cars and start positions for the rally special stage, with Tony Meyrton picking pole position.
First to run in car number 1. Ooh.
Oh, Bonza, you're not seeing a car, but
all the drivers in the Firestone Master Driver Series were competing in identical standard Toyota Corollas fitted with Firestone tyres available over the counter. The 2.3 kilometre rally special stage was held at Lichtenburg prison adjoining the Kyalami track, with drivers allowed 1 practice run before taking on the clock. As was to be expected, a friendly rivalry was developing between the rally drivers and their track counterparts, with plenty of banter flying around.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Tony Meyrton is a former South African champion and one of the most versatile racing drivers in the country. He has driven everything from karts to single-seaters and sports cars, and earned a permanent place in the record books when he won the famous Daytona 24-hour race in 1984 with fellow South Africans Sarah van der Merwe and Graham Duxbury. Bonzo, as Meyrton is affectionately known, started off in fine fettle, but dirt roads often hold a few hidden dangers for race drivers. After clipping the bank, the Toyota rolled onto its roof, trapping driver and navigator in the car. Both were unhurt, but could not extricate themselves from their safety belts, and there was plenty of activity from marshals and officials who were quickly on the spot. Enlisting the help of onlookers, who were enjoying themselves hugely, marshals finally managed to manhandle the Toyota back onto its wheels. It was a sheepish Tony Meyrton who, much to his disgust, had just earned himself another little niche in South African motorsport folklore. The incident also gave the rally drivers in the field a chance to practice a little one-upmanship on their racetrack colleagues. Another driver who's earned his reputation on the racetrack, Chris Aberdein, was second man away. Aberdein is another versatile performer, graduating from karts into saloon cars and single-seaters. One of South Africa's rising young stars, Aberdein scored his biggest triumph when he won the International Porsche Turbo World Cup at Kyalami last year and was awarded his Springbok colours. Aberdein set the 5th fastest time in the practice runs and looked to have settled down to the extra demands and technique rally driving makes on racing drivers. Driving at speed on slippery dirt surfaces is a new ball game where the racing stars are concerned, and the techniques needed to stay on the road often go against a track racer's natural instincts. Aberdein looked to be on his way to a respectable time. Right at the death, he made an error and slid the rear of the Toyota into a fence post at the flying finish, chalking up a few more smirks for the rally fraternity. Bearded Peter Lanz settled in South Africa from Switzerland and has proved himself to be one of the most capable race drivers in South Africa and an ace builder of race cars. At the finish of the rally stage, Lanz decided to go one better than Aberdein and hit the fence post at the flying finish and a bank a little further up the road. At this stage, the score was race drivers 3, rally drivers 0.
So slippery, can't believe.
You just saw that happening now, and you do exactly the same thing.
I said, no, I must leave it, I must get past.
So stupid to do it.
Yeah. And Tony, let's just settle on this.
It didn't happen previously.
See a previous guy do it, you do the same thing.
After every practice outing and timed run, each car was fitted with a new set of tyres to ensure all the competitors were in equal machinery. With racing driver honour very much at stake, Mike Briggs was under a fair amount of pressure. Another of the young lions in South African motorsport, Briggs is another who has come up through the kart ranks to drive saloon cars and single-seaters. He's also driven in sports cars in international events at Kyalami. Port Elizabeth born and bred, Briggs proved to be fast and smooth on the dirt. In an impressive performance, he posted the 2nd fastest time and in the process opened a few rally drivers' eyes. Pretoria University student Enzo Kuun was the man the experts favoured to win the rally section. Although only 21, Kuun, the son of Springbok Christo Kuun, already has a string of national rally titles to his name and is tipped for future stardom. The race cam provides a graphic description of a rally driver at work in what in reality is his office. Things happen awfully fast when rally cars are travelling at speed, and drivers are called on to show intense skill and concentration combined with lightning reflexes. Kuun often uses his left foot for braking while keeping his right foot firmly on the accelerator. This is a technique mastered by the top rally drivers for keeping engine revolutions at a peak even under braking. Left foot braking is a ploy that's come into its own with the development of front-wheel drive competition cars, but is definitely not recommended while out on your Sunday drive. The display by Kuun was an example of smooth and fast driving, with the car under complete control at all times. Those who tip Kuun for stardom appear to be onto a good thing. As was to be expected, the fastest time was set by Enzo Kuun. Second placed Mike Briggs was the odd man out amongst a quartet of rally drivers. Next up for the competitors was the auto test, held in the VIP car park at the Kyalami circuit. Travelling over a predetermined course, drivers carry out set manoeuvres while competing against the clock. As is the case with show jumping, walking the course was an important part of the driver's preparations. With precious points at stake, a single slip could mean the difference between making it to the finals or being left out in the cold. Young Enzo Kuun was tipped to also win the auto skills test after being nearly 3 seconds quicker than anyone else in practice. His run ended in controversy when his car spluttered off the line and then cut out completely when the wiring harness shorted out. While Kuun showed his frustration and mechanics swarmed over the Toyota, some lively discussion broke out over whether or not the Pretoria youngster should be given a rerun. The organisers finally ruled in favour of giving Kuun another chance.
There was a major problem from the moment he went off the line in reverse. And you could hear the engine was starting to misfire. He held his reverse direction far longer than he had in practice, and it was obviously a mechanical problem, and I don't think we have any alternative to give him a rerun.
No, you don't. You rolled the car. Must you get another run? Okay? Mechanical fault. I mean, the road had a hump. You're right. The car cannot get a rerun. I agree. It's force majeure.
And I won't make love.
No, he's excluded now. That's it.
Okay, I'll go now.
Thanks for coming.
After his unfortunate incident on the rally special stage, Tony Meyrton was out to make amends in the auto test. He set the second fastest time in practice and was in a determined frame of mind. Once again, the race cam picks up the action inside the cockpit of the Toyota as Meyrton goes about his task. Apart from running against the clock, drivers were penalised 10 seconds for every time they hit a bollard or failed to straddle white lines at strategic points on the predetermined course. It was turning out to be just one of those days for the likeable Meyrton. Despite all his hard work behind the wheel, his time for the auto test was more than 2 seconds slower than his practice mark and left him in 4th place. Following the controversy over his first run and the organisers' decision to give him another chance, Enzo Kuun then set off on his second attempt at the auto test. This time everything appeared to be going well for Kuun and a fast time looked to be in the offing. Then drama struck again. For the second time, Kuun's car cut out, leaving the Pretoria student stranded in the middle of the test. Once more, officials and mechanics swarmed around the car, and there was more lively debate on the issue from other competitors on the sidelines.
Once you started, the flag is dropped. I think the white book will tell you there. That's it. Finished.
Kuun looked a little bemused, but was given a third chance in a spare car. With Kuun's misadventures a major talking point, fellow rally star Johan Evertse then decided it was time to stop playing games. Evertse has won a string of rally honours at provincial and national level, has also performed creditably on the track, and many pundits tipped him as one of the favourites to make it through to the final. Showing tremendous car control, Evertse, who finished third in the rally section, turned on a display that would turn parking lot boy racers green with envy. In a near-faultless performance, the cool, calm and fiercely determined Evertse, who drives for Volkswagen in the National Rally Championship, turned in the fastest time of the test. Following his strong showing in the rally section, Evertse's success in the auto test put him in a powerful position to win a place in the final. A gallery of race and rally drivers looked on while Enzo Kuun made his third attempt at completing the auto test. This time he made it through the course, but fate decreed a 10-second penalty for not straddling a white line, and this put him out of the running. Overall honours went to Johan Evertse, with Mike Briggs a close second. The Kyalami pits were a hive of activity as organisers and technicians prepared for the all-important race, which would decide which two drivers went through to the final.
It's the difference between our motor car and the...
As in the case of the rally and auto test, cars were fitted with fresh sets of tyres prior to each qualifying session and the race. Jannie Habig is better known for his spectacular rally driving and has this year chalked up 2 national championship victories. Habig was equally spectacular during qualifying for the race. Habig posted a creditable time of 2 minutes 1,66 seconds to earn him 4th place on the grid, ahead of established racing drivers like Peter Lanz and Tony Meyrton. Mike Briggs was in a determined mood for his Indy-style qualifying stint, in which each driver is allowed 2 practice laps followed by 2 timed laps. The race cam on board Briggs Toyota provides an interesting view of the talented young driver at work. After the start, it's a right turn into Budget, followed by a 90-degree left into Yellow Pages. Then it's on to the Top Sport S's, after which there's the long climb up to the Double Apex West Bank corner. The part of the circuit incorporating the downhill section known as the mine shaft through to our corner strikes fear in the hearts of many a race driver. Total Corner is one of the fastest sections on the circuit, and there's certainly no room for error at this point. The tricky Nashua Corner, which leads into the pit straight, has caught many an unsuspecting driver off guard. Pole position went to a delighted Briggs, who was the only driver to lap at under 2 minutes. Tension ran high before the start of the race, which would decide which 2 drivers go through to the final of the Firestone Master Driver Series. When the flag dropped, there was a mad scramble for the first turn. Chris Aberdein and Johan Evertse got the whole shot on Mike Briggs, and the race cam fitted to Peter Lanz Toyota provides an interesting view of the action up front. The luckless Enzo Kuun trailed the pack in last place and was never able to improve his position. Up front, Aberdein held the advantage over Evertse and Briggs, with Jannie Habig putting up a fine performance. Top Sport S's, Briggs started to make his move on Evertse and succeeded in passing him in West Bank corner. The race developed into a procession, with the only notable action coming from the front-running Aberdein and challenger Briggs. Midway through the race, Briggs started to pile on the pressure, but try as he may, he could not pass Aberdein. Peter Lanz, driving the camera car, had some problems of his own at Yellow Pages corner and finished in a lowly 6th place. At the finish was Aberdein, followed by Briggs, Evertse, Habig, Meyrton, Lanz, Hettema and Kuun.
We enjoy the rally and we enjoy the race, but the gymkhana is the one that gets us. It gets us in the stomach, we feel it.
Glad to see that I'm in the final this time, because I tried to take it on average and it worked. And I'm glad to see that Michael made it through to the final as well.
The results of the first round of the Firestone Master Driver Series produced few surprises, with 1989 finalist Briggs and Evertse making it through to the final. A preview of the second round of the series will be broadcast on Top Sport next Tuesday, with edited highlights featuring in the Top Sport lineup the following evening.